Welcome to Wisdom Woman podcast. I believe that is in constant change and growth, not in perfection, that we find happiness. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking with top performance professionals about tools, techniques, new ideas on how to develop your communication skills, use your creative thinking, be a team player, manage your tasks like a pro, be motivated, become an expert on relationships, and a problem solver. Everything you need to be 5 stars in all areas of your life. My intention is to help you develop your skills and find balance between your professional and personal life. My name is Betina Meyer Pflug, and I hope I can be your trusted advisor. Hello, my dear ones. Today we're going to talk about a topic that's so Pinteresting. Yes, that's right, Pinterest, and how the social media is taking over the connections with females. Of course, to talk about a topic like that, nothing better than a female expert on this field. I have here today with me Jade Chebelsky, and she's a consultant for small business like me at SPDC. And if you don't know what SPDC stands for, is the Small Business Development Center here in Northern Colorado. And she is specialized in social media management. Her strengths of writing led her to dig into coaching and strategizing entrepreneurs to thrive in Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. Doesn't matter if your company sell a product or service, she covers it all. She started her business Maven and Muse Media after other businesses saw her success in niche marketing, telling stories, and selling her vintage products directly off social media. Established businesses witnessed her growth and reached out to create content that will transition into sales. Now, Jade finds stories and tell them through motivational means, converting followers and hearts to conversations and bookings. So let's see what we can learn and how we can leverage your business. Thank you, Jade, for being here with us in our podcast, Wisdom Woman.
Thank you for having me.
What an interesting story from vintage products to social media strategies. Can you tell us more about your adventure?
Yeah, totally. So I started out selling vintage clothing and housewares as like a side hustle to my full-time job. And um, what was happening was that was when Instagram was just coming out. I think it was maybe almost a year old at that point. And at that time, it was a lot of people sharing photos and trying to connect with each other. But I was taking my findings, my dresses and housewares, and I was styling them and taking these artsy photos and saying, coming soon to my website or something like that. And people, so this was before DMs or anything like that. So people would put a comment and say, how can I buy that? And so I was just sending out PayPal invoices and shipping them that way. And I would pop up at different markets around Chicago, and business owners would see what I was doing and how asking me, how are you selling these things out? How are you selling your booth out? And I said, I don't really know, but let's have coffee and I can show you what I'm doing. And we would have coffee and I would show them and tell them what I was doing, and they would start doing it, and it was working for them. And then they would ask me, how much do you charge to just do it? And I had to figure it out.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice. So your clients found you. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I kind of invented my job, I guess. And now there's huge corporations who have massive social media teams. It's this huge thing that's so awesome.
Then you quit your job and just focus on social media strategies.
Yeah, so then my full-time position got eliminated with budget cuts, and I had a couple clients, and I thought, okay, I'm not ready, but I'm gonna just jump in like jumping in cold water. And I took the 3 clients that I had and I built this big thing that I have going right now.
And I know you have a talent of writing. Where does talent come from? Are you a journalist? Tell me more about it.
Well, I've been writing for as long as I can remember. At my grandma's house, she had this teal typewriter, and she watched me a lot. And so I would make up these stories and type them out. And my uncle had left me a camera, and I was probably like 5 or 6, and I would take pictures with the camera. My grandma would take them to Walgreens to get them developed, and I'd get the pictures back and I'd make up little stories. So it was
All
almost like
right.
I knew social media was coming before it really existed.
You were ready for it even before they were ready for you.
Yep, yep. I've always been, yeah, writing stories, journaling, creative writing, things like that.
Well, we have an amazing podcast about storytelling. So if you want to learn more, just listen to our other podcast. But I have a feeling there is a wrong understanding of Pinterest and its market. Some people think that's just for women who like craft, and that's a wrong consideration. What can you tell us about the audience of Pinterest?
Yeah, so Pinterest is mostly a female demographic, so it is 80% female. Um, but it isn't just a place to go and get recipes and home decorating ideas and gift ideas. It's so much more than that. Um, People are actually go on there to look for and learn about how to do something. You know, they're looking up what's a good organic skincare, or how is organic skincare beneficial to me, or what kind of chai tea is good for my digestive system. I'm just throwing things off the top of my head, but it's so much more. It's a platform for women to actually learn and for you to get your products and your services and knowledge in front of people who are actively searching for it.
That's so nice. What I heard in my research that I did before our podcast, of course, is that, the new users, that early adopters, they're normally young and are located in the east and west coast of United States, but the majority of the Pinterest users are in the middle of United States. And they range in between, I think, 25 to 55 years old. That means they are the decision makers of the house. So if you're targeting your customers on Pinterest, you're targeting someone who has the power of decision, the power of buying your product and services.
Correct.
What type of clients do you normally support? Can you give some examples on how you build a strategy to grow inside Pinterest?
So, a few of the clients that I'm working with on Pinterest are a coach and a organic skincare brand. And with the organic skincare brands strategy, we are focusing more on educating people on what clean beauty and what green beauty really is and what the difference about it is. And we're also using that platform to educate women on the toxic chemicals that are in some of the skincare and how plants can help with your skin and your overall wellness. And we have increased product sales just through Pinterest by 25% in the 7 months we've been actively using that strategy. My coaching client is that we're using, we are um, kind of talking about paradigms and mindsets and all of those kinds of things. And we're finding that we're having a niche in that where we're talking to women who are looking at maybe a second career, and there aren't a whole lot of pins or informations on there about that. So it's kind of just looking at your product and doing some market research on Pinterest and finding out where their pieces are missing that you can fill in the gaps with educating on why your product or service is so awesome.
And I know that nearly 50% of the Pinterest total user are classified as light users, accessing the platform weekly or monthly versus daily. how does impact the social media strategy? For example, for Instagram, we know people check it out 2 3 times a day, so you have to constant include content on Instagram and other social medias. How about Pinterest? If they are light users, can we adjust the strategy for that type of user?
Yeah, so people are actually going on Instagram and Facebook to be entertained, so that's why you need to be constantly pumping out that content. But on Pinterest, you can create more of an evergreen feel. So if you have a specific product line that is just always available, you can create pins with maybe several different images or a little bit different text on there, and you can put those pins up, at once a week, every couple days. I do the scheduling system. I do like to have the pins go up daily for one of my clients through a third party scheduling app, because I do find that that helps bump you up in the algorithm with all of the SEO and things optimized. So um, posting daily on there is not a bad idea, but if you don't have time, weekly is fine. And it's just creating pins that you can switch the images out or just the words out to make them look a little bit different to the user.
Yeah, an interesting idea. And the main difference between Pinterest and other social media, I think the other social medias, people like to show off, show what they're wearing, where they're going, what they're eating. And Pinterest is a little bit different. It's just to show the beauty of things and how useful something can be. What is your perception about this topic?
Totally. Again, yeah, so Instagram and Facebook, people are going on there to be entertained. They're going on there to fall into this rabbit hole of, I don't want to be writing this article right now. I'm going to scroll through and be entertained. Whereas on Pinterest, it's kind of, I like to look at it as a Google type search engine. So people are going there to learn something. For example, one of the big things that people search is, how can I use CBD in my life? Or, you know, things, what is organic skincare? What is green beauty? People are going there to get educated and find products related to how they want to feel or whatever their search outcome they're looking for.
Yeah, that's a big value. And how can we start creating boards? It's just your products, just your service, or you should create boards that are related to your products and service, something fun that will entertain your audience. What are your suggestions?
Yeah, I definitely think you need to start with 5 boards, one board being primarily what you do, a little house to hold everything that you do, and then separate those out as well. So if you're a coach who focuses on energy healing and mindset and things like that, so you would have just one board with your business name, and then you would have a second board with energy healing, another board with mindset tricks, another board with um, quotes, quotes from you, and then you would have some boards as well where you would repost things relevant to what you're doing. So you could have an influential board. So you would have quotes from other people like Bob Proctor or anybody else in related to kind of what you're doing, any kind of pins that they have or people in your industry that you collaborate with, repinning some of their things um, that you don't specialize in but are relevant and to your offering or product.
That's awesome. Also, having boards dedicated to humor, I think it's very smart because people like and community like to engage something that's fun and
Mm-hmm.
entertaining. And how can you do this? Do you do this for your clients as well?
Yes, but we kind of have joy and humor kind of built into our strategy already because as you all know, social media can be a dark place sometimes. And yeah, we have a lot of uplifting humor, joy things that we have implemented into the brand overall, and the pin images or quotes or words to begin with.
That's nice. So it's very important for you to have your pins linking to your website and the other way around as well. All the images and interesting things you have on your website pointing out to Pinterest. So, how do you build this connection? Can you explain step by step how to link Pinterest to the website?
Of course. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your Pinterest account is a business account. Um, you're not going to get all of the optimizing tools that you would get with a personal account. So the first couple of things I tell clients is let's switch from personal to business. And then we're going to hide all of those boards that are just for us, like the home decorating and the recipes we want to try and all of that that's not relevant to our business. We want to hide those and make those secret just for us. And when you switch to a business account, it's going to ask you if you want to verify your website. And that's a very important step. And that F for FYI, it'll get sent to your spam. So make sure you check that. But verifying your website lets Pinterest know that you are actively posting things on there and your website is a living, breathing thing according to Google. And once you verify the site, then you'll get the little P, the little white box with the red P that you can put on your blog post images. And that allows people to actually pin those to their boards or save them for themselves as well. But when you're setting up the pins, you want to decide where you want it to go on your website. Are you wanting it to go to your About Me page? Are you wanting it to go to just your home page? Are you offering a freebie to help build your email list? You kind of have to write a little bit of a plan of where do you want these pins to go? And you should have at least 3 to 7 pins going to each thing. So 3 to 7 pins going to your free download to build your email list, 3 to 7 pins going to your contact page or any section of services that you want to have them go to learn more about you. Because again, Pinterest is creating a warm lead to go somewhere else. And you
So, for
want your
example, if you have a weekly blog post, can you have different pins directly to each blog post, or you're limited to 7 pins maximum that you can redirect?
No, you can have as many pins as you want, but I would advise you to start with at least 3 if you're doing a weekly blog post and have 3 different images. So they're going to the same link, but they look different.
I got it. And how can we optimize pins for SEO?
Yeah, this is the $1,000,000 question. So it really comes down to you've got to know who your target is. People will come to me in the beginning and they'll want marketing services and Pinterest services. And one of the first questions I ask is, who are we talking to? Do you know your keywords? And when people are first starting out, they'll say, well, I want to talk to everybody, but that's not necessarily the case. So it's really figuring out who are you talking to and what are the keywords. And once you've written out, 10 or 12 keywords, then I encourage people to start thinking like their consumer or their customer. What would you type into Google or the search bar of Pinterest to find you? What are some words that you would use? And check and see if those words are on your list.
I got it. Yeah. And talking about users, I know that in 2021, as the fourth quarter, Pinterest has 431 million of active users worldwide. What is your perception, the comparison between Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Instagram, the 3 social media platforms that you help your clients with?
Yeah. I'm going to say right off the bat, there's way less competition on Pinterest and LinkedIn to be seen than there is on Instagram. So Pinterest is, again, if you're a product or a service-based industry, I really highly recommend you at least have a few things on Pinterest, because it lives there until you delete it. So it's a search engine, and the content you create on there is living on there until you physically take it down. Whereas the algorithm in Instagram, your post is only active for about 4 hours and then it dies off. So you're not really getting found on Instagram, even with an amazing hashtag strategy or keywords on there, because there's a billion users on Instagram. That's a lot of people and a lot of dog videos to compete with to get your product and your service seen. LinkedIn also is totally underutilized. About 1% of the users on LinkedIn are actually creating content. So there's this, Pinterest and LinkedIn are these two huge platforms that have people who are actively looking for what you are selling and offering and wanting to give to the world.
I totally agree with you. And once you have a Pinterest profile, how do you promote this profile outside Pinterest?
Yeah, so with a bunch of my clients, we have it in the footer of their weekly emails. We are promoting it on their Facebook. We have their websites optimized with the pins. So if people, again, back to the organic skincare company. So when people are on that website and see the moisturizer or something, they can save it directly from the website onto their Pinterest.
Those are cool tips. And how can we collaborate with other Pinterest users?
Yeah, collaboration on Pinterest is huge. You definitely want to find people who are aligned with your brand and like you said earlier, offering things that are parallel to what you're doing, that they go together, and just resharing their content, and hopefully they will begin resharing yours. Um, but the Pinterest algorithm does also like when you repin other people's things. So it's just finding other coaches or products that are aligned with you.
And contributing to group boards can be also an effective way to connect with a wider audience, particularly if you're sharing top quality content. How do you
Mhm.
suggest your clients to collaborate in groups inside Pinterest?
Yeah, again, it's just making sure that you have a crystal clear photo that's vertical and you have it branded and you have the keywords and you have a direct call to action in there. A lot of failure on the group boards is when it's copied and pasted of a blog, an entire blog post. But again, you want to start thinking of your pins as you're creating a lead to get them to go somewhere else. So having a crisp photo with your logo on it and a call to action is what is going to be successful in the group boards.
Thank you. And how can we take advantage of trending content? For example, something that's happening or some trends. If you're talking about fashion, how can you use this to leverage your profile?
Again, it would need to be aligned with what your brand is about. So if you are, again, a coach whose focus is on building up women and empowering women, then you could bring fashion into that of, you know, dressing up when you're working from home, how to still feel empowered working from home, how to keep that mindset of empowerment. What are some fashion ideas to wear on a Zoom? Kind of things like that. But you want to, if there are trends, you do want to make sure that you are circling back to how are they relevant to what you're offering.
And how important it is to repin content from other users? You mentioned that there is an algorithm from Pinterest that measures that.
Yeah, so I would say you want to do at least 10% of your pins be repinned from someone aligned with you. It doesn't need to be that many. Just every once in a while, make sure you're repinning something else that you found interesting or relevant to your following.
And how can you make it easy for people to pin your own content?
Again, it's the optimizing of your website initially when you switch to a business account, because then on your website, it will bring up the little white box with the red P. And so people can just pin directly when they read your blog post or whatever they see on your website.
For example, if you organize events, it's interesting to have a board of your picture events. What do you think about it?
If you're organizing events,
Yes.
I would definitely look at Pinterest as more of a portfolio. Again, because it's a search engine, so you're not going to necessarily sell tickets to an event off of Pinterest because people are seeing your pins at all different times. But I would build it more out as a portfolio. So this, for example, if you had done a jazz fundraiser for a neighborhood youth center or something, you would put up a picture of that and then write on their fundraising event for youth center, and in your pin description you would write, this is an example of an event I can put together. For more information, click over to read about me on my website.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. And you mentioned about planning in advance, preparing your content in advance. There are several platforms that you can do that. I myself use Social Bee to manage all my social media platforms. So, what are the suggestions? What type of platforms do you use to manage your social media?
Yeah, so for LinkedIn and Instagram, I believe in Sprout Social. And as far as Pinterest, I use a program called Tailwind, because you can schedule out the entire month, and then you can also join groups on Tailwind to put your content out there too. So you don't have to go in manually to the groups you've joined on Pinterest. You can schedule directly through Tailwind.
That's cool. It's almost like Social Bee. I'm going to check it out how Social Bee interacts with Pinterest. Thank you so much. I think you gave us like a brand new word to work on because I wasn't investing a lot in Pinterest. Now I have all my notes here. I will definitely start doing and taking a look on that. And I know that you have an amazing booklet, as I can say, with 20 tips to optimize your business Pinterest, and people can download it. How they can have access to this content, Jay?
Yeah, so the 20 tips is available on my website, and I don't know, are you going to put a link to it in the
Yes, on the description of the podcast.
Cool. Yeah. So it'll be on my website and in the description of the podcast.
That's perfect. So if you're not sure how to engage on social media and you're even thinking that's so hard for me, I don't want to do it, but you know the importance of it, just schedule a coaching session with me. We will go over all your social media strategy and we're going to make it fun for you. I can assure you, I have different coaching clients, different ages, all of them. I really help them out. Great podcast, great social media presence. And after you have your strategy established, Jade is a good resource to help you on a daily basis, to support you with content. And if you want, just schedule a talk with her. I'm going to put all her information on the description of the podcast. Jay, thank you so much for opening our eyes to this amazing platform. I'm for sure going to invest on it. And I hope you guys enjoy our podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. See a lot of you on Pinterest.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom Woman Podcast. To hear past and future episodes, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast channel. We appreciate your reviews. To give us suggestions for future show topics, please write to us at podcast@wity.tech. If you're interested in having me as your trusted advisor, schedule a strategic coaching session on my website, www.wity.tech.